Akira Oda, a quiet high school student, has no idea that his ordinary life is about to end. As he stands in his classroom, he feels an unsettling premonition that everything is about to change forever. Suddenly, a massive magic circle erupts on the floor beneath their desks. Before anyone can cry out, the classroom is swallowed by a blinding, magical light. When the light fades, Akira finds himself and his classmates lying in a grand, unfamiliar hall. Disoriented and confused, he looks around the majestic architecture and wonders, "Where on earth are we?" A towering figure in a regal cape stands before them. "I am pleased that you have arrived," he announces, his voice echoing with authority through the silent chamber. The king of Retai's kingdom officially welcomes these travelers from a distant world. Beside him, Princess Maria catches her breath, while Akira realizes with a shock that they've been pulled into a scenario straight out of a fantasy novel. The king drops a bombshell. They have been summoned to serve as hero candidates. Their mission? To defeat the Demon King and save this world. The students are in an uproar. While most are terrified, Akira can't help but think about how every Ice Sky trope he knows is currently lining up in a row right in front of him. They are now in the world of Morgan, a land consisting of 4 continents home to humans, elves, beastmen, and devils. As the king explains the geopolitics, the gravity of their situation begins to sink in. The king pleads for them to become their saviors. He explains that they are in the largest human kingdom, Retais, which is currently facing a full-scale invasion from the demon forces. Without a hero, peace will never return. An old mage steps forward, explaining that while they might not feel it yet, they already possess extraordinary abilities. He instructs the class to repeat the magic words, "Status, open." Akira follows the instructions, whispering the command under his breath. To his amazement, a glowing system window materializes in the air right before his eyes. The screen displays his profile, Akira Oda, class, Assassin level 1. His stats seem decent, but one thing stands out: his concealed presence skill is already at level max. He's glad he's not the hero. He doesn't want the attention. While his classmates are giddy with excitement over their new skills, Akira remains cautious. He knows that powerful skills mean even more powerful enemies. A classmate approaches Akira, asking what class he got. Akira struggles to remember the guy's name, but the friend isn't surprised when he hears assassin. "Figures," the classmate laughs, noting that Akira was always the undisputed king of hide-and-seek. Akira smiles, but internally he wonders if his low profile in the old world was the reason for this specialized class. They speculate if their abilities are based on their talents from Earth. His friend jokes about having math skills from haggling at markets, but then asks the big question, who is the mighty hero among them? The obvious choice is Sadu Tsukasa. Popular, athletic, and the student council president, Sadu has always been the perfect model of a hero, even back at school. A girl named Miko Sano goes up to test her stats on a crystal ball. A status window appears for everyone to see. She's a level 1 barrier mage. The crowd is impressed, but Akira notices something unsettling. Akira's eyes widen as he compares her stats to his. Her life is 180 and her attack is 150, barely a tenth of his own numbers. Something is definitely not right here. Realizing that his own stats are ridiculously high, Akira panics. If the kingdom sees his true power, they might never let him go. He immediately activates his concealed presence skill to hide his status. The skill works instantly. His classmate loses track of him, confused as to where Akira wandered off to. Akira breathes a sigh of relief. He's bought himself some time. Next up is Sadu Tsukasa. Akira watches intently, hoping the class president's stats will be so high that his own won't look suspicious if they are ever discovered. The result is revealed. Sadu Tsukasa is indeed the hero at level 1. His attack is 800, defense is 500. The room erupts in cheers, everyone amazed by such high stats. Akira is paralyzed by a cold realization. If the legendary hero only reaches 800, his own 1200 attack power makes him an absolute outlier. His worst fears about standing out are suddenly, terrifyingly real. The old mage confirms the disparity, noting that even elite combat classes usually peak at 500. Satu is indeed special, but as the king begins his grand speech about their inevitable victory, Akira can't shake the feeling that this entire scenario is far too perfect. The king of Retai's kingdom continues his grand speech, standing alongside Princess Maria and the royal priest. He reassures the class that with their new hero leading the way, defeating the Demon King will be a simple task. Everything sounds a little too perfect for Akira's liking. While his classmates cheer, Akira Oda can't shake the feeling of dread pooling in his stomach. He looks at the smiling faces of the king and princess and realizes that something is fundamentally wrong here. Their kindness feels like a mask. The priest begins leading the group away to be outfitted for their respective classes. As the crowd moves, Akira lingers, his eyes scanning the ornate ceiling of the hall. He's not just paranoid, he's observant. Akira's sharp eyes catch something hidden in the shadows of the rafters. It's a small, crystalline object that looks uncannily like a security camera from his own world. Why would a fantasy kingdom need a surveillance system? His suspicions are confirmed. This isn't just a friendly summoning, it's an operation. Akira realizes he needs to be careful, very careful, about how he moves in this palace. Later that night, Akira lies in his assigned room, staring at the ceiling. He sighs, thinking about how assassins in stories are usually just side characters meant for scouting. He thought he'd be playing this world on easy mode, but now he's genuinely worried about the road ahead. Akira reflects on the status ceremony. He had hidden his presence, making him the only one who didn't touch the crystal, which could be a problem if they find out. Interestingly, he feels like his negotiation skill is letting him sense the hidden motives behind the royal's words. Using his skills, Akira manages to slip away from the group and find a room that isn't being used. It's dusty and abandoned, meaning no one is checking on it, and more importantly, there are no camera crystals here. This will be his secret base of operations. Safe from prying eyes, Akira can finally start piecing together the truth behind their summoning. Step 1. Find out what the king is really up to. He looks out over the moonlit capital, thinking like a true assassin. To get the information he needs, he'll have to sneak into the most restricted areas of the castle. It's a dangerous start, but he has no other choice. First things first, the school uniform has to go. It stands out like a sore thumb in a world of swords and sorcery. If he's going to move through the shadows, he needs the right gear. A short while later, a figure clad in dark, tactical gear stands on the rooftops, overlooking the royal capital. The sheer scale of the city is breathtaking, but Akira isn't here for the sights. He's here for answers. Sneaking into the palace armory was child's play for someone with maxed-out concealment. Akira admires a pair of daggers he found, hoping the kingdom won't mind him borrowing them for a bit. Moving with the speed and silence of a ghost, Akira leaps across the towers. He knows he won't be giving this gear back. He's an assassin now, and these are the tools of his trade. He scales the outer walls and slips through a high window, landing silently in a corridor. His target is the king, and the search begins now. Luck is on his side. Hiding behind a massive pillar, Akira hears a familiar voice. Bingo, he whispers to himself. He's found the king and Princess Maria in the middle of a late-night conversation. Tucked away in the palace library, the king and Maria drop their facades. They mock the students as fools from a magicless world who are too dazzled to realize they're being used as disposable pawns. Akira's blood runs cold as he listens. The king reveals that training will start tomorrow under the Knight Commander, a move to keep the children busy while their real plans proceed. He specifically notes that the students are forbidden from entering this library, the very place where Akira is currently hiding. As Maria bows and prepares to leave, Akira stays perfectly still, blending into the darkness. Every word they've spoken confirms his worst nightmare. They were never meant to be heroes. They're sacrifices. Princess Maria exits with a cold, triumphant smile, unaware of the icy gaze watching her from the shadows. Akira's expression is stony as he realizes just how deep this conspiracy goes. As soon as the doors close, Akira slips into the main section of the library. He needs to see what kind of secrets are kept here that the king is so desperate to hide from them. He spots the king sitting at a desk, busy writing. Akira creeps up behind the massive bookshelves, getting close enough to see the man's every move. The hunter has found his prey. Akira draws his dagger, the blade gleaming in the faint light. I could do it, he thinks. I could kill him right now, and no one would have a clue. The temptation to end the threat immediately is overwhelming. But logic quickly overrides his lethal impulse. Akira knows he is still a stranger here, and killing the king now, without understanding his true motives, could trigger a catastrophe he isn't prepared to handle. He needs information far more than he needs blood. His grip on the dagger softens as he pulls back into the gloom. Staring into the cold steel of his blade, Akira questions his own resolve. Is he truly ready to become the killer this world expects? For now, he retreats, but the weight of this choice has already begun to settle. Akira Oda slips back to his room, his mission for the night left unfinished. He looks at his blade and wonders if he made the right choice by letting the king live. Meanwhile, the king continues his secret correspondence, a cold smile playing on his lips as he writes, "Good." In his heart, Akira knows this decision will haunt him. The king of Retai's kingdom's face is a mask of pure malice, and the regret of not ending his life that night will only grow as the days pass. Somewhere deep in a dark forest, a different struggle is unfolding. A blonde elf girl runs for her life, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she desperately tries to escape an unseen pursuer. Her escape is cut short. An arrow whizzes through the air and finds its mark in her leg, sending her tumbling to the forest floor. The elf girl realizes too late that the arrow was coated in a paralytic poison. As her limbs go numb, she looks up to see her attacker standing over her, her eyes filled with cold indifference. The mystery woman mocks the fallen girl's confusion. To the question of why, she only smiles. The cruelty in her expression suggests that the elf's nightmare is only beginning. In fact, I'd like to ask you the same thing, the woman says, leaning in close. Why are you still alive? The scene is a grim reminder of the violence hidden in the corners of this world. The next morning, the banquet hall of the Retai's palace is filled with the chatter of excited students. While they feast on exotic foods, the sun rises over the capital, marking the start of their first real day in this new world. Satu Tsukasa, ever the student council president, stands up to address his classmates. Akira watches him from his seat, unimpressed by the usual hero posturing. Tsukasa gives a rousing speech about using their newfound strength to help the people of Morgan. He talks about consensus and responsibility, looking every bit the protagonist they expect him to be. He pledges to answer the king's request and defeat the demon king, asking the others to stand by his side. Akira's gaze remains cold, his skepticism growing with every word Tsukasa speaks. The class erupts in cheers, fully supporting Tsukasa. While everyone else is swept up in the excitement, Akira thinks about the security cameras in the ceiling and the king's true intentions. He wonders why his classmates trust these people so blindly. This is really not my scene, Akira thinks, quietly eating his breakfast. He's already using his concealed presence to fade into the background, letting the hero take all the spotlight and the danger that comes with it. While the others shout about saving the world, Akira ponders a different path. He wonders if it would be better to just run away and survive on his own, rather than being part of a group that's being led to the slaughter. Later, the class is led to the training grounds, an area far more massive than any track back in Japan. As they marvel at the size of the courtyard, a high-ranking knight approaches to greet the hero and his companions. The man introduces himself as Saran Matrai, commander of the Retais Knights. He has a soft, almost feminine face, but the air of confidence around him suggests he's earned his title as the last bastion. Saran jokes about his own reputation, drawing a quick reprimand from his serious vice commander, Gillis Osti. It's clear that Saran is the charismatic heart of the order, while Gillis handles the discipline. Saran explains the king's orders. They have exactly 1 month of training before they are sent into an underground labyrinth to test their strength in actual battle. The short deadline sends a wave of murmurs through the students. The students are terrified by the idea of entering a labyrinth so soon. Saran looks on with a calm, almost amused expression as they debate if a single month is enough time to prepare for life-and-death combat. When Tsukasa bristles at the suggestion of failure, Saran doesn't back down. He bluntly states that if the students don't become strong enough with a knight's guidance, the fault will lie with them. It's a harsh reality check for the hero. Saran reminds them that they gained exceptional abilities upon their summoning, and success in their training is expected. Akira notices how Saran's laid-back attitude seems to specifically irritate the self-important Tsukasa. Suddenly, Akira feels a chill. Despite his concealed presence being active, Saran looks directly at him. Akira panics, forcing a polite smile while internally screaming, "Why are you making eye contact?" The moment passes, and Akira decides he's had enough of following orders. He plans to quietly slip away while the group is being organized, convinced that no one noticed his brief interaction with the commander. Saran leaves Gillis in charge of the class, instructing him to start the heroes on a light regimen, just 1/5 of the usual night training. As the commander turns and walks away, Akira decides this is his best chance to fade into the background and escape the monotony of the drills. Blending into the shadows with his concealment active, Akira makes a break for the palace archways, certain he's gone unnoticed. But he freezes when a voice rings out with casual authority. "And where do you think you're going?" To his horror, Saran is looking right at him, his gaze piercing through Akira's invisible shroud. Akira odaishtoned. Despite his max concealment, Saran is looking right at him with a casual smile. "Oh, Commander Saran, was it?" Akira asks, finally dropping his guard since hiding is clearly useless. Akira expects to be punished for skipping training, but Saran is surprisingly laid back. He reveals the secret to his perception, an extra skill called magic eyes. It seems there's no hiding from the commander's gaze. Saran asks where Akira was headed, and Akira realizes that honesty is his only option. He admits he was trying to find the library, hoping to gather some information on his own. They sit by a fountain to talk. Akira explains that he wants to learn about the world, everything from mundane daily life to the secrets of magic and skills. Saran notes that the king has strictly forbidden the students from entering the library for a reason. Saran lets him in on a secret. The books in the library aren't that special. The real knowledge about magic and skills is kept in the king's private study. Akira's disappointed face is so obvious that Saran can't help but laugh. When Saran offers a favor, Akira cautiously declines. He knows that back in Japan, there's a saying, "There is nothing more costly than something given for free." Saran is impressed by the boy's wisdom and caution. Instead of a favor, they agree on a trade. Akira will tell Saran about his world, and in exchange, Saran will share knowledge about Morgan. They shake hands, sealing a deal that could change everything for Akira. Their meeting is cut short when Vice Commander Gillis Osti appears. He's clearly been looking everywhere for his superior. Gillis is fuming, literally dragging Saran away by the collar. Saran just laughs it off, while Gillis apologizes to Akira for the commander's constant habit of sneaking off from his duties. As he's being hauled away, Saran promises Akira that they'll continue their enlightening conversation later. Akira watches them go, feeling like he's finally found a potential ally in this strange land. As they walk through the palace corridors, Gillis notices a rare, genuine smile on Saran's face. Saran admits that he hasn't felt this interested or cheered up in a very long time. Gillis asks about the conversation. Saran explains the trade they made, where he learned about Akira's home world in exchange for information about their own. Over a cup of tea, Saran recounts the wonders Akira described: flying steel masses, self-propelled carriages, and the power to hold conversations across the world in an instant. It's all part of something called science, a concept almost impossible for people of magic to believe. Gillis mentions that the name Japan appears in historical records, possibly related to the very first hero. It seems Akira's class isn't the first group to be summoned from that distant land. But then Saran drops a bombshell. Akira's concealed presence is already at level max. Gillis is speechless. In their world, level 9 is the absolute limit for any skill. Saran explains that only the legendary first hero ever crossed that boundary. For everyone else, even reaching level 7 is a remote possibility. Akira is an anomaly of the highest order. Gillis wonders why the king hasn't noticed such a powerful individual. Saran points out that Akira used his skills to avoid the crystal ceremony entirely, keeping his true strength a secret from everyone, except Saran himself. They realize Akira is a quick thinker who applies his skills effectively. Gillis asks if the commander is suggesting they invite Akira to join their ranks officially. Saran knows that Akira is already aware of the king's true nature. This makes him a dangerous element, but also a valuable one if handled correctly. Saran decides to take charge of Akira's development personally. He wants to give the boy special training to hone his skills as an assassin, believing that a power like his must be utilized to its fullest potential. The next day, the training grounds are a hive of activity. Students are sweating and striking wooden posts, their wooden swords echoing through the courtyard as the sun beats down on them. Satu Tsukasa is pushing himself harder than anyone, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He's determined to live up to the title of hero, but something is clearly weighing on his mind. Tsukasa glares at Akira Oda in the distance. Just looking at the boy puts him in a foul mood. To Tsukasa, Akira has always been an irritant, a plain face that somehow managed to stay on the edge of his awareness. Tsukasa's bitterness isn't just about the here and now. It's rooted in years of being ignored. They've been in the same class since kindergarten, yet Akira didn't even remember his name back in the 7th grade. To a star like Tsukasa, that kind of indifference feels like a personal insult. It's utterly absurd to him. Tsukasa has everything: looks, brains, and talent. Yet he was somehow invisible to Akira Oda. As he watches Akira continue to act like an uncooperative loner in this new world, that bewilderment is quickly curdling into a deep-seated resentment. Satu Tsukasa's resentment toward Akira Oda only grows as the days pass. To him, Akira is nothing but a selfish nuisance whose constant habit of disappearing and skipping training is disruptive to the entire group's harmony. Even in this new world, Akira remains an uncooperative ghost. While the others train in the courtyard, Akira is elsewhere, enduring a far more intense regimen under Saran Mitrai's personal supervision. When the commander asks how he's holding up, a sweating Akira can only manage a weary, so-so, I guess. Saran laughs, noting that even his vice commander Gillis found this training brutal, yet Akira is handling it remarkably well. Watching them from a distance, Tsukasa is livid. He can't understand why the invisible Akira has managed to win the commander's personal favor. During a break, Princess Maria herself approaches Tsukasa with water, her face blushing slightly as she praises his hard work. The sudden attention from royalty catches the hero completely off guard. Tsukasa is honored to be served by the princess. As he drinks, he tells himself to stay calm and focus on his role. He is the hero, and he needs to act the part if he's going to lead his classmates to victory. 1 month passes in a flash. The training has changed everyone, but none more so than Tsukasa. He looks at the castle and vows that by the time they return, he will be so strong that neither the commander nor Akira Oda will be able to ignore him ever again. The day of the grand departure finally arrives. The massive gates of the capital swing open to reveal a city filled with thousands of citizens, all gathered to cheer for the brave saviors who have come to protect their world. Saran Mitrai notices a student's nerves and tells him to straighten his shoulders. They are more than just soldiers now. They're symbols of hope, and they must look the part for the masses waiting outside. The parade begins. With knights on horseback and wagons filled with supplies, the students march through the streets under a literal storm of cheers and hurrahs. It's the kind of heroes welcome most people only dream of. Tsukasa adapts to the fame instantly, waving to the crowds like a natural leader. Akira, however, finds the noise unbearable and tries to use his concealed presence to disappear. But his peace is interrupted by a mysterious girl in a hood who seems to be staring right at him. "Hey," the girl whispers as she catches up to him. Akira is shocked that she can see him. He tries to put her at ease, telling her he has no intention of turning her over to the knights, but the girl isn't there for small talk. The girl's eyes are filled with a dark intensity as she asks Akira if he knows the truth about their summoning. "Sacrifice," Akira repeats, his heart skipping a beat. She warns him that no one understands the real price that was paid to bring them to this world. She tells Akira that once he learns the answer, they should meet again. As she disappears into the cheering crowd, Akira is left with a chilling feeling that this won't be the last time they meet. The chapter ends with a dark shadow hanging over the hero's departure. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, leans over the map, explaining the strategic importance of their mission. There's one legendary labyrinth on each of the 4 continents, and their destination today is the Cantonin Labyrinth, located right near Retai's castle. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, sips his tea with a calm smile, assuring the students that he and his knights will be right there to support them. It's supposed to be a final training exercise to see the results of their month-long hard work. But once inside, the training quickly turns into a nightmare. A sea of demonic rats surges from the darkness, catching the students completely off guard. Panic spreads like wildfire. The formation breaks as students scream for healers, realizing too late that this isn't the controlled environment they were promised. Akira Oda remains calm, his hand steady on his blade, but even Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, looks concerned. The sheer number of monsters has brought their advance to a complete standstill. At first, it seemed easy. With their enhanced stats as hero candidates, they cleared 30 floors without a hitch. But then, a sudden chunk echoed through the corridors. A wall opens, and a literal tide of monsters pours out. It wasn't a mistake, it was a trap. The students are frozen in fear as the rats swarm them. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, shouts for everyone to stay in formation, but the cries of "stay back" and "help" drown out his orders. Realizing the students have lost their will to fight, Akira suggests a retreat. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, agrees, deciding to stay behind and hold the line himself while the group makes a break for the surface. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, closes his eyes for a brief moment of prayer, drawing his sword as light begins to gather around the blade. With a powerful swing, he unleashes his ultimate move, Divine Sword. A massive beam of holy light carves a path through the monster horde. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, commands the group to head straight for the surface. Sato Tsukasa, the chosen hero, takes the lead, urging everyone to follow him as they dash toward the exit. They reach the stairs, thinking they've escaped, only to find the path blocked. Monsters have somehow managed to cut off their exit, even at the upper levels. Sato Tsukasa remembers the smoke bombs the princess gave him specifically for emergencies. "Everyone, get back," he yells, pulling one out. A massive explosion of smoke fills the corridor, disorienting the rats and giving the group a chance to breathe. The smoke is surprisingly effective, driving the monsters back. Seeing an opening, Sato Tsukasa decides to push through while they have the advantage. The knights and students coordinate a devastating combined attack, merging flames and wind into a raging inferno that incinerates everything in its path. From the shadows, Akira Oda watches the impressive combo. He can't help but wonder, if the knights are this powerful, why do they need to summon heroes in the first place? Just as Akira and Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, prepare to make their own escape, a chilling screech echoes through the labyrinth. Suddenly, the ceiling shatters. Something massive is dropping down right in front of them. Emerging from the dust is a colossal boss minotaur, its eyes glowing with a sinister light. The atmosphere turns heavy. A minotaur? Even the experienced knights are visibly shaken by its sudden appearance. This shouldn't be happening. Minotaurs are supposed to be found only in the deepest, most dangerous levels of the labyrinth. Finding one this close to the surface is unheard of. The Minotaur swings its massive club with bone-crushing force, shattering the stone floor where Akira Oda stood just a heartbeat ago. Cursing under his breath, he realizes this training exercise has officially turned into a desperate fight for their lives. But Akira doesn't back down. He focuses his gaze, spotting a brief opening in the beast's overwhelming assault. With his blade held tight, he prepares to strike, ready to see if his current strength can truly pierce the hide of a high-level monster. Akira Oda's blade strikes the Minotaur, but it barely leaves a scratch. He's stunned by the beast's resilience. What the? How tough is this thing? He wonders, realizing his current power might not be enough for a direct confrontation. Akira regroups with Sada Tsukasa, who is battered and kneeling. Tsukasa looks up at Akira, dazed and struggling to comprehend how they ended up in such a desperate situation. Tsukasa begins to explain the chaos. They were making progress, using the anti-monster smoke bombs provided by the princess to facilitate their retreat and keep the monsters at bay. But something went wrong during the final smokescreen. Instead of dispersing the crowd, the massive Minotaur stepped out of the haze, completely bypassing their defenses. Seeing his classmate Sano in danger, Tsukasa rushed in to protect him. He tried to parry the Minotaur's heavy club, but the sheer force shattered his sword and broke both of his arms instantly. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, intervenes, shouting for Tsukasa and Akira to retreat while his knights distract the beast. Tsukasa can only groan in agony, his pride and body broken. Despite his injuries, Tsukasa's resolve remains. He tells Akira that he must be the one to protect everyone. Akira watches him, a cold, unreadable expression on his face, before a small, cynical chuckle escapes his lips. Akira leans in, his gaze sharp and questioning. Think, he says coldly, if you're so busy protecting them, then who is protecting you? Akira continues his blunt reality check, telling Tsukasa that his power as a hero is far too valuable to be wasted here. It should be saved for the final battle against the Demon King. In his eyes, the others are meant to support the hero, not the hero carrying the entire weight of the class alone. Tsukasa is outraged, yelling about the safety of their classmates. But Akira simply gestures toward the group standing behind them, forcing Tsukasa to look at the people he thinks he's protecting. Akira's voice is firm and uncompromising. They can protect themselves. That's the point, he shouts, trying to break Tsukasa's savior complex. He reminds Tsukasa that many of their classmates have combat-oriented classes and have undergone the same rigorous training. They aren't helpless victims. Listen, Tsukasa. Akira adds, you need to value yourself a little more. The words seem to strike a chord, but not in a healthy way. Tsukasa stares into space, trembling as he repeats the phrase under his breath. Value myself? Suddenly, Tsukasa's behavior takes a dark turn. He starts muttering incoherently about his duty, his eyes wide and frantic. Akira realizes something is fundamentally wrong. This isn't just trauma. It's like a switch has been flipped. Acting quickly, Akira calls out to the class, asking for anyone with healer or disenchanted classes to step forward immediately. Two girls answer the call. Ueno Yuki, a disenchanter, and Hanyama Shirori, a healer, look at Tsukasa with worry, ready to help their fallen leader. Akira gives them their orders. He suspects there's more to Tsukasa's breakdown than meets the eye and asks Ueno Yuki to check for a curse. Meanwhile, Hanyama Shirori prepares to mend his broken bones. Ueno Yuki begins the ritual, her hands glowing as she chants the disenchant spell to dispel whatever darkness is gnawing at their comrade's heart. The group gasps in horror as black, wispy smoke begins to leak from Tsukasa's head. The confirmation is terrifying. Tsukasa really has been cursed. The struggle continues. Ueno Yuki grits her teeth, feeling the curse's powerful resistance. while Hanyama Shirori works as fast as she can to heal his arms, though it's clear it will take more than a moment. Akira looks back at the battlefield. Saran Matrai and his knights are holding their ground, but they aren't making any progress against the Minotaur's tough hide. Knowing the healers need time, he makes a decision to leave Tsukasa in their hands. He's torn between helping the knights and staying to protect the vulnerable healers. He's worried about leaving them unprotected, but then a hand settles firmly on his shoulder. His classmates tell him not to worry. They acknowledge that he is stronger than them and urge him to go help Saran Matrai fight the monster. They've got the back line covered. A newfound resolve takes hold of the group. Understanding that they can't simply lean on Tsukasa forever, the students stand their ground, determined to protect the healers and let Akira focus on the real threat. With a silent nod of acknowledgement, Akira Oda turns and dashes back toward the front lines. Behind him, the shouts of his classmates urge him forward, trusting him to break the stalemate and bring the monster down. Akira Oda dashes back into the thick of it, catching Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, by surprise. Akira, the commander calls out, checking if everything is secure with the group at the rear. Probably, Akira replies bluntly, his focus entirely on the beast looming over them. Akira wastes no time on pleasantries. He informs Saran that Tsukasa is being handled, but they need to finish the Minotaur first. Looking down at his shattered short sword, he realizes he's out of physical weapons. My short sword is broken, so the only way out of this deadlock is to use my skill somehow, he concludes. Akira's gaze is cold and determined. He tells Saran he's going in for the kill, regardless of whether he has backup. I have the power. I don't need anyone to protect me. I refuse to die down here, he declares, his assassin's resolve chilling even in the heat of battle. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, looks at the young boy with newfound respect. A fine sentiment, he says with a small smile. Then we shall all make it back alive. Every knight, warrior, and hero. The Minotaur roars, but the two are unfazed. Saran admits that even for him, slaying a beast of this caliber is no small feat. He thanks Akira, acknowledging that the boy's hidden strength might be the very thing that saves them all. In a rare moment of levity, Saran Matrai mentions he's still eager for Akira to teach him more about his world, specifically airplanes and smartphones. Akira just sighs, stepping forward. We just have to survive first, he says. Then I'll give you every juicy detail. The Minotaur charges with earth-shaking force. The knights stand their ground, but Akira is already on the move, a blur of black cloth against the gray walls of the labyrinth. Akira discards the useless hilt of his broken sword and vaults over the monster's head. Seizing the opening, Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, raises his blade, light gathering in a blinding aura as he chants a prayer to smite their foe. Lightnings flash. Saran's voice thunders as a massive pillar of holy electricity crashes down from the ceiling, striking the Minotaur with the force of a falling star. The Minotaur is caught in the blinding white light, its monstrous scream muffled by the roar of the lightning. The stench of ozone and burnt fur fills the corridor as the beast's massive frame trembles under the divine assault. The students watching from afar are filled with hope. They actually heard it this time, one cries out. But Akira isn't done yet. Eyes narrowed, he prepares to strike while the beast is dazed. Activate. Shadow magic. Akira invokes his hidden power. Dark, liquid-like shadows erupt from beneath the Minotaur, coiling around its legs and torso like the tentacles of some abyssal beast. The combination is devastating. While Saran's lightning sears the monster's flesh from the outside, Akira's shadows constrict and crush it from within. Light and dark work in terrifying unison to bring the giant to its knees. It was a perfect tactical maneuver. The blinding flash from Saran's light magic created the deep, sharp shadows Akira needed to maximize his own power. Their techniques synchronized in a way that left the Minotaur with no chance of escape. Managing this skill is no easy feat. Akira grits his teeth, his body straining under the pressure. He remembers his training, where he nearly lost control of the volatile shadow magic. Even now, it feels like a wild beast trying to break its leash. Haul it in. Akida Goman. The shadows tighten their grip, the pressure mounting until the monster's bones begin to creak and snap under the unnatural force. The Minotaur's resistance finally crumbles. Its eyes go dull, and a final, gurgling roar escapes its throat as the shadow magic drags its massive form toward the ground, finishing what the lightning started. With a final, sickening thunk, the Minotaur's head hits the floor. The shadows dissipate, leaving only the cooling corpse of the labyrinth's master and the two warriors standing over it. Silence falls over the labyrinth. The knights and students are frozen, unable to believe they actually survived. Saran Matrai and Akira Oda stand amidst the carnage, the dust slowly settling around them. The adrenaline fades, leaving Akira utterly drained. He leans on his knees, panting heavily. "Man, I want to go home," he mutters to himself, the weight of the situation finally catching up to him. Saran gathers the group, congratulating them on surviving the ordeal. However, the mood remains somber. Tsukasa is unconscious and being carried by his classmates. "We still have to make it through the forest before we reach the castle," the commander warns. As they march back, Akira notices the stark difference in the atmosphere. On the way there, everyone was excited and loud. Now, the silence is deafening, as everyone is surely exhausted from the battle. Seizing a quiet moment, Akira whispers status to check his progress. He's stunned to see his level has jumped all the way to 15. His stats have surged, with his life, attack, and defense reaching incredible new heights. As a classmate asks if he's all right, Akira Oda quickly snaps out his thoughts. "No, it's nothing," he replies, keeping his voice steady. Internally, though, he's still processing the fact that he actually took down a boss-level monster, and the resulting surge in power is far beyond his expectations. His stats have tripled across the board, and even better, he somehow learned Duress and the Minotaur's very own skills. Recalling Saran Matrai's lesson about learning through combat, Akira realizes that surviving such a battle has changed him fundamentally, making him wonder just how much the others have been affected. Back among the group, Akira Oda watches over his classmates. He can't help but wonder about Sada Tsukasa. The hero was right in the line of fire, shielding everyone from the Minotaur. If Akira gained skills from that confrontation, surely the one who took the brunt of it gained something too? The group finally makes it back to the safety of the castle walls as night falls. Everyone is exhausted but alive. As the students begin to disperse for some much-needed rest, Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, pulls Akira aside, asking him to stay behind for a moment. In the quiet courtyard, Saran Matrai reaches into his cloak and pulls out a long, cloth-wrapped object. "Here," he says, his voice low and serious. "This is for you." Akira unwraps the gift to find a beautifully crafted sword. Saran explains its origin. It was forged by the very first hero with his own hands, a weapon from Akira's own world. He called it a katana, Saran adds. Akira is stunned. He asks why a treasure like this is being given to him instead of the hero, Sada Tsukasa. Saran explains that the current hero lacks the curved sword's skill. More importantly, Akira shares the same origins as the blade's creator. "Do you know about katanas?" Saran asks, knowing the answer. The truth behind the gift is even more surprising. Saran Matrai admits he stole the blade from the royal treasury. "Call it our secret," he says with a conspiratorial smile. He knows Akira's short sword was broken and likely stolen by the kingdom's greed, so he decided the timing was perfect for a replacement. Akira draws the blade, mesmerized. The black hilt and scabbard match his own gear perfectly. He recognizes the design, a Kogorezu-style sword with a unique double-edged tip. It's a masterwork of lethal elegance. He notices a faint engraving at the base of the blade. Saran Matrai admits it's in a language no one in this world can read. Akira's fingers trace the familiar strokes of his homeland's writing. "Yato no kami. Akida Witspa," the night blade god. Seeing Japanese characters for the first time in over a month brings a sudden, sharp pang of nostalgia. For a brief second, the cold stone of the castle feels a little more like home. There's more text engraved along the steel, a message of hope for future generations. May this blade bring aid. I have faith that tomorrow will always come. Akira's heart stirs. He finds himself wishing he could have met this first hero, a man who clearly understood the burden of being brought to this world. The conversation turns back to the present crisis. Akira reminds Saran that Sadat Tsukasa is still suffering from a mysterious curse that their classmates couldn't lift. He asks the commander for his thoughts, sensing that the kingdom's hospitality is far more sinister than it appears. Deep within the castle, Princess Maria stands before a dark, pulsating crystal. Her eyes are cold as she prays for the hero to become her perfect puppet, embodying the words and actions she deems appropriate for a savior of the kingdom. Her meditation is suddenly interrupted. She senses a presence in the room that shouldn't be there. "HM?" she mutters, turning toward the balcony. Akira Oda has bypassed the guards and entered her private chambers. He doesn't waste time with pleasantries. "You used that crystal," he says, his voice a deadly whisper. "And you put a curse on the hero." Princess Maria maintains her mask of royal dignity, acting offended that someone would barge into her bedchambers uninvited. "Who are you?" she demands, her voice full of false indignation. "You're either bold or utterly shameless." Akira isn't buying the act. He mocks her pure-hearted maiden routine. To him, she's nothing more than an obsessive sicko, using evil crystals to warp the mind of the boy she claims to support. Akira reaches out and grabs the crystal. A freezing chill shoots down his spine, but he doesn't let go. With a surge of strength and magic, he shatters the dark artifact into 1,000 pieces. "I assume that should take care of your little curse," Akira says, stepping back toward the window. Before leaving, he poses one final question, wondering if she's acting on her own or following the king's direct orders in this treachery. Princess Maria's expression goes blank, her eyes hollow. "Everything I do is for the sake of His Majesty," she replies, confirming Akira's worst fears about the royal family's involvement. Akira vanishes into the night. As he flees, he reflects on what Saran told him about the princess. A child who never knew love, raised in the shadow of a mother's death and a father's descent into madness. It doesn't excuse her actions, but it explains the monster she's become. Back in her room, Princess Maria pulls back a heavy curtain, revealing a hidden cabinet. It's not just one crystal. There are dozens of them, all glowing with the same malevolent energy. A truly demonic smile spreads across her face. Shattering one crystal was only a minor setback. "For those who dare to obstruct my lord, only one thing remains," she whispers. "Divine judgment." Elsewhere, Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, sits alone in his dimly lit office, his pen scratching against parchment. The weight of his own secrets seems to hang heavy in the silent room. Entering the room unannounced, Akira Oda finds Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, already waiting. Even with concealed presence active, the commander senses him instantly. "Good evening, Akira," Saran says, looking up as Akira pulls out a dark, jagged shard from his cloak, the proof of his successful infiltration into the princess's room. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, takes the fragment, his face growing somber as he feels the lingering dark magic within. Akira confirms that shattering the main crystal has successfully lifted the curse on Tsukasa, but the tension in the room doesn't lift. If anything, the discovery of such an item within the castle walls points to a far deeper conspiracy. Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, stares at the crystal shard, his expression darkening as he mutters something about them still being active. Akira catches the word, but before he can press for more, the commander dismisses him. "Go get some rest," Saran says, his voice heavy with weariness. "We'll speak again tomorrow." Akira Oda agrees, feeling the weight of the day's battles in his bones. Before he leaves, he checks with Saran Matrai about some previous arrangements. Despite the victory, He doesn't feel safe within the castle's walls anymore. He decides it's better to find a quiet spot outside to rest and stay alert. "I'll prepare those for you tonight," Saran Matrai assures him, giving a small, reassuring wave. "Don't worry, we'll work everything out tomorrow." Akira gives a final nod and slips out into the night, the sound of the door closing behind him like a final goodbye. The sun rises over the majestic peaks surrounding Retai's castle, its golden rays signaling the start of a new day. But for Akira Oda, the morning light brings a jarring realization as he blinks away the sleep. He planned to be awake before sunrise, but exhaustion won out. Sitting on a thick tree branch just outside the castle walls, he's startled by a familiar voice. "Akira!" "Hey, where are you?" Satu Tsukasa shouts from the ground. With a soft thump, Akira drops down to meet the frantic hero. Akira is surprised to see Tsukasa up and moving so early. He checks to see if the boy is feeling better after the curse was lifted, but Tsukasa is too panicked to care about his own health. "Something happened to Saran," he yells, his eyes wide with horror. "It's bad, Akira. Really bad." Before Akira can ask for details, Tsukasa grabs his arm and yanks him toward the castle. "Just shut up and come with me," he bellows. They sprint through the hallways, dodging confused students and knights as they head for the commander's private quarters. They burst through the doors, and the world seems to stand still. Akira Oda and Satu Tsukasa are frozen at the entrance, their breaths catching in their throats at the gruesome sight before them. There, lying cold and silent, is Saran Matrai, Knight Commander. A heavy sword is driven straight through his chest, pinning him down in a pool of blood. Their only true ally in this world is dead, and the silence in the room is a chilling harbinger of the darkness to come. The courtyard of the Retai's castle is filled with an eerie silence, broken only by a cry of despair. Commander Saran Matrai lies motionless on the cold stone, blood pooling around him. For the king, the princess, and the students of Class 2Z, the world has just been turned upside down. Akira Oda stands in shock, his eyes fixed on the pale face of the man who was just leading them. "Who did this?" he whispers, unable to process the sight of the fallen commander. Everything about this scene feels staged, a nightmare he can't wake up from. As Akira kneels beside the body, the cold reality sinks in. There, protruding from Saran's chest, is a sword. A weapon that looks all too familiar to the onlookers. The tragedy isn't just a death, it's a setup. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by an accusation. One of the students points a trembling finger, claiming they recognize the sword. They've seen it in Akira's hands before. The trap is closing, and the eyes of the crowd are turning hostile. "Murderer!" The cry echoes through the courtyard. Akira stands alone, framed for the death of the only man who truly understood the danger they were in. Behind him, the students he once called classmates now look at him with nothing but pure hatred. The mob mentality takes over. Voices rise in a chorus of condemnation, each one more venomous than the last. Even as some try to call for calm, the frenzy for justice has already begun to boil over. Akira looks at the shattered remains of the sword in his mind. His real blade was destroyed in the fight against the Minotaur. This sword in Saran's chest? It's a plant. But looking at the faces of his peers, he realizes the truth doesn't matter to them anymore. They've already made up their minds. He catches the eyes of the king and the princess. In their subtle smirks and cold gazes, Akira sees the puppeteers behind this play. He hasn't just fallen into a trap. He's been marked as an obstacle that needed to be removed. And he knows exactly why. It looks like the whole class has been cursed by the princess. Akira muses internally. Their fanatical reaction isn't just grief, it's manipulation. Without a word, he turns his back on the mob. There's nothing left for him here. One last look at Saran. The commander was a good man in a rotten kingdom, and now he's just another casualty of their greed. Akira's gaze hardens. The time for confusion is over. The time for survival has begun. With a sharp shick sound, Akira pulls the blade from Saran's chest. The sight of more blood makes the students scream in horror, but Akira doesn't flinch. He needs to move, and he needs to move now. Akira! Tsukasa stammers, but Akira doesn't answer. He faces the king directly. No more hiding his disdain. You see me as an obstacle, don't you? He challenges. He announces his departure, but the king's expression only darkens into one of murderous intent. What sort of nonsense is that? The monarch growls. The king scoffs. Escape isn't an option he's willing to give. With a wave of his hand, the royal guards tighten their perimeter, their spears leveled at the boy who dared to defy a crown. The facade of a benevolent ruler has completely crumbled. The princess leans in, her voice a cruel whisper that only Akira can hear. She confirms his suspicions. Saran knew too much, and so does he. To them, he's just a villain defiling their sanctuary. It's a death sentence wrapped in the language of justice. Seize him, the king roars. The order is given, and the guards lunge forward. Tsukasa cries out his name, but Akira is already shifting his focus. He's no longer a student. He's an assassin on the hunt. 1, 10, or 100, it doesn't matter. To Akira, these guards are nothing but useless goons. He breathes out, activating his trump card. Conceal presence. In an instant, the world around him begins to blur and fade. The guards thrust their spears into empty air. The boy who was standing right in front of them has simply vanished. Panic starts to seep into the ranks as they realize they're hunting a ghost. He vanished, they cry out in confusion. The king is furious, screaming for them to find him. But Akira is already moving through the shadows. Amidst the chaos, only the vice commander, Gillis, seems to maintain his composure, his eyes scanning the area with a hidden purpose. From the void, a voice reaches out to Gillis. Akira is still there, invisible and lethal. Listen to me, he whispers. Gillis doesn't flinch, knowing this is their only chance to communicate before the castle is completely locked down. Gillis works fast, providing Akira with the grim truth. The Night Crows, the king's personal assassination squad, were likely the ones who killed Saran. They're targeting Akira next. He hands over a letter and a bag of supplies Saran had prepared, a final gift from a fallen mentor. The vice commander urges him to flee. The king will catch on soon, and once the magic barriers are up, even Akira's skills might not be enough. This is his exit cue. Hurry and escape from the castle, Gillis warns, his face etched with worry. A final exchange of glances. Akira thanks him for everything. They are two men bound by the memory of Saran, standing against a corrupt empire. Please stay safe, Gillis calls out as Akira prepares to leap into the unknown. The same to you. Akira Zipli. Scaling the castle walls, Akira's mind is a storm of emotions. He only asked Saran for supplies to survive outside, but he got so much more, a purpose and a warning. So much for that, he mutters, the memory of Saran's kind smile fueling his resolve. I swear, I will avenge your death. It's a vow carved in blood, but Akira knows he's nowhere near strong enough to take down a kingdom yet. He needs a place to sharpen his claws, a crucible far from the prying eyes of the royal guard. Leaping from the towering walls, Akira Oda leaves his old life behind and dives headfirst into the abyss. He won't die. He will endure. Red Ice has created its own worst nightmare, and the journey to the heart of the darkness has only just begun. Deep within the Canton Labyrinth, the darkness is thick and heavy. Only the rhythmic sound of footsteps on stone echoes through the damp corridors. For Akira Oda, this isn't just a hiding place. It's a crucible where he will either be forged or broken. A lone goblin scavenges the area, unaware that it's being hunted. In this dungeon, even the lowliest monsters are a threat, and for someone trying to stay under the radar, every encounter must be swift and silent. Shadows stretch and shift as a gloved hand reaches out from the void. Akira moves with the predatory grace of an assassin, his dagger poised to strike before the creature can even let out a whimper. The kill is clean. With a muffled splurch and a dying jarg, the goblin is silenced forever. Akira doesn't take joy in the kill. It's simply a necessity for survival in this unforgiving maze. Akira takes a moment to catch his breath. Reaching the fifth level alone is far harder than the group runs they did before. He realizes he can't afford a single mistake. He must rely on his concealed presence, and detect danger skills to navigate the rising difficulty of the solo grind. He remembers the weight of Saran's last words. The commander's letter urged him to reach level 100 and hide in this very labyrinth, the only place the royal army fears to tread. Here goes, he whispers, steadying his resolve as he descends further into the gloom. Every resource in this dungeon is vital. Akira meticulously carves into his fallen foes, searching for the tiny remnants of power left behind. In the silence of the labyrinth, even the sound of his blade against flesh feels deafening. Bingo! He pulls a small magic stone from the monster's carcass. To survive here without depleting his own mana, he needs to harvest as many of these as possible. Rationing supplies and power is the only way to endure the long journey to level 100. Checking the supplies Saran prepared, a month's food and hunting gear, Akira knows he needs to move faster. The deeper he goes, the less likely he is to encounter any adventurers from a kingdom. Suddenly, his detect danger skill flares with a sharp signal. Something is wrong. His detect presence senses a 50-meter radius, yet it finds no living beings nearby. No monster, no person. Must be a trap, he concludes. It's not alive, but it's dangerous, a realization that makes the damp walls of the maze feel even more claustrophobic. Akira tests the area, wary of the unseen threat. He tosses a small stone ahead, watching it fly through the corridor. He needs to understand what kind of mechanism he's dealing with before he takes another step. Arrows hiss through the air, embedding themselves in the stone with a series of sharp thocks. He's found the trick, a trap that responds specifically to magic power. The maze is proving to be more sophisticated and lethal than his initial training runs led him to believe. Even with his prior knowledge of the dungeon, Akira realizes he can't afford to let his guard down for even a second. The only thing I can rely on is myself, he thinks, turning his back on the light and disappearing into the long, dark tunnel ahead. Pull it together and keep moving. Those are the words that keep him sane as he walks deeper into the abyss, leaving behind a trail of silence and monster corpses. The journey has only just begun. While Akira fights for survival in the dark, the world above is bathed in a melancholic light. Tsukasa Hodaka stands by a simple stone grave, the weight of recent events clear in his somber expression. The silence here is heavy with mourning. Tsukasa kneels before Commander Saran's final resting place. He's learned the truth from Vice Commander Gillis, how Saran and Akira risked everything to try and lift the curse from him. The guilt is a bitter pill to swallow, knowing they suffered for his sake. But it's not just grief that troubles Tsukasa. Ever since Saran died, his classmates have been acting strangely, their familiar faces replaced by expressions he no longer recognizes. The bond they once shared is fraying under some unseen pressure. 10 days have passed since Akira vanished into the night. Cliques have formed, and the atmosphere in their group has turned hostile and tense. Tsukasa feels himself drifting away from everyone, unsure how to deal with the rising toxicity. I hope you're safe, wherever you are. He prays for his missing friend. A rustle in the trees snaps him out of his thoughts. Tsukasa spins around, his hand instinctively reaching for his blade. Who's there? He demands, his nerves frayed by days of paranoia and isolation. From behind a massive tree trunk, a girl peers out, her expression hesitant and apologetic. She didn't mean to startle him, but in these times, everyone is on edge. Tsukasa lowers his guard slightly, but the tension remains. It's Lieno, another one of his classmates. She quickly apologizes, explaining she wasn't trying to spy on him. Tsukasa relaxes, thanking her for the time she tried to help lift his curse. It's a rare moment of genuine connection in a world that feels increasingly fake. Tsukasa is surprised that she seems so clear-headed compared to the others. "You're not cursed yourself?" he asks. Given how jumpy and aggressive everyone has been acting, Lieno's calm demeanor is almost suspicious in itself. Lieno reveals her secret. She is a disenchanter. Her job class gives her a much higher curse resistance than anyone else in their class. She's felt the weight of the curse herself, which is why she knows exactly how strong and dangerous it is for the others. Standing in the shadow of the castle walls, the two of them forge a silent pact. Lieno suggests they return to this spot tomorrow, a chance to prove to each other that their wills are still their own. For Tsukasa, her offer is more than just a simple meeting. It's a faint, unexpected glimmer of hope in a world shrouded in deceit. Tsukasa nods, the crushing weight on his chest finally starting to shift. He's never known a loneliness this profound, but in Lieno, he might have finally found the one thing he lacks, an ally. "I'll be here," he promises, still clutching his sword as they both acknowledge the fragile, dangerous path they are now walking together. Back at the grave, the tension between Lieno and Tsukasa softens just a bit. Lieno jokes about keeping a safe distance since Tsukasa is armed, and for the first time in 10 days, he finds himself actually laughing. It's a small relief, a flicker of humanity in a world that has turned so cold. Tsukasa places a single flower on Saran's grave, his eyes full of a new, burning resolve. "Please watch over me, Commander Saran," he whispers. He isn't just a student anymore. He's a man who has vowed to change this world, to become a hero worthy of the name. Lieno notices the choice of flower, a hollyhock. It's a simple, elegant choice for such a solemn occasion, standing out against the cold stone of the memorial. In the language of flowers, it means a trusting heart, Lieno explains. Tsukasa takes a moment to absorb the meaning. A trusting heart, something that seems like a weakness in this kingdom, but he salutes the grave, promising to remember it as he moves forward. As the two classmates walk away, Tsukasa casts one last look toward the horizon. "Wait for me, Akira. Wherever you are, I swear I'll come find you." He doesn't know where his friend is, but the bond between them is far from broken. While the students find hope, the serpent plots in the high tower. King Retais and Princess Maria share a celebratory tea, gloating over how handily their enemies have been dealt with. The king even scoffs at how easily Saran was eliminated, already planning rewards for his night crows, the kingdom's secret executioners. The conversation turns to Akira Oda. The king is still wary, but Maria is dismissive, assuming the boy is already dead in some ditch. Regardless, the king orders the night crows to hunt him down just to be sure. Their true goal is moving closer, concocting an excuse for war with the Eastern Realm. To them, Saran and Akira were just expendable pawns. Deep in the silence of the labyrinth, a small campfire crackles. Akira Oda sits alone, cooking monster meat over the flames. In this dark, cavernous hall, he is a ghost in his own survival story, far removed from the political games of the castle. With no sunlight to guide him, Akira relies on his stomach clock to track the passage of time. This is his 30th meal, marking roughly 10 days since he first stepped into this abyss. The maze has become his entire world. He takes a bite, surprised to find that monster meat is actually quite tasty. He's careful not to waste anything, though he draws the line at humanoid monsters like goblins. Survival is a grim business, and he's doing whatever it takes to keep his strength up. Akira reviews his progress, his skills leveling up with every desperate fight. It's a complex balancing act, power leveling through constant combat while trying to find enough recovery time. He keeps his detection skills active around the clock, even though the drain on his stamina and magic is immense. He can't afford to be vulnerable. "Gotta eat well and stay in good shape," he reminds himself. He can feel it in the air. The 60th floor boss fight is coming up, and he needs every ounce of energy he can muster for what lies ahead. One mistake here means death. The Canon Labyrinth is structured by these massive trials. Every 10 floors, a giant door appears, leading to a guardian that must be defeated. So far, he's overcome 5 of them, from the Goblin General on the 10th to the terrifying Fenrir on the 50th. But being solo makes every victory a miracle. He reflects on the fight against Fenrir, which was his hardest yet. The beast didn't fight alone, bringing 4 red wolf minions to tip the scales. Akira was forced to push his limits, facing overwhelming numbers in the dark. He won by using conceal presence to pick them off one by one, but the victory left him uneasy. Relying too much on skills feels dangerous. He knows he needs to hone his raw swordsmanship if he wants to survive the even deeper levels. It's not just about what the system gives him. It's about how he uses it. Between floors 51 and 59, Akira purposely avoided his shadow magic and conceal presence to force his curved sword's skill to level up. He's refining his style, turning his blade into a natural extension of his arm. It's a dangerous way to train, but he's already come too far to stop now. He packs his gear, the heavy creak of the giant 60th floor door echoing through the hall. Best get to it, he mutters. The weight of the challenge ahead is palpable, but there's no hesitation in his eyes. This is the only path he has left. Akira steps into the massive, circular arena. The silence is broken only by the sound of his own breathing. Then, with a series of ethereal fums, lanterns flicker to life around the room, revealing the vastness of the boss chamber. He is officially on the stage. Ga Doom, the heavy doors slam shut behind him, sealing him inside. In a boss room, there is no retreat. The only way out is through the corpse of the enemy. Akira drops his bag with a heavy thump, readying himself for the inevitable. 2 glowing, hateful eyes snap open in the darkness. A low, guttural growl vibrates through the floor. In other words, Akira thinks, narrowing his eyes. The predator has sensed its prey. The 60th floor boss reveals itself, a massive, muscular beast that towers over the young assassin. Either I die, or the boss dies. One or the other. The stakes have never been clearer. This is a battle for the right to exist. It's a chimera, a monstrosity straight out of legend. With the head of a lion, the horns of a goat, and a venomous snake for a tail, it's a multi-headed nightmare designed for one thing: slaughter. Akira draws his curved blade, sizing up the one-on-one fight. He's heard of this creature in myths back in his own world, but seeing it up close is a different story. Every part of it is a weapon: the fangs, the claws, the horns, and the tail. It's the perfect guardian for these deep levels. The chimera opens its massive maw, unleashing a roar that shakes the very foundations of the labyrinth. It's more than just a sound. It's a wave of pure killing intent, a lethal greeting for the boy who dared to reach the 60th floor. The battle erupts as the beast triggers duress and roar. The combined pressure of the sonic blast and psychological aura slams into Akira, sending him skidding across the stone. Ugh, he grunts, his body straining under the beast's weight, yet he's already bracing himself for his first desperate strike. Akira doesn't hesitate, lunging forward with his curved blade. He needs to find an opening, some weakness in the monster's defense, but the air is thick with the chimera's killing intent. It's a dance on the edge of a knife. Ka-tang, the sound of steel on stone echoes through the arena. Akira's eyes widen in realization. The beast's skin is rock hard, acting as natural armor that his blade can barely scratch. His primary weapon is practically useless against such a defense. Suddenly, the snake tail lashes out with a terrifying hiss, spraying a dark, corrosive liquid. Akira barely rolls out of the way as the splash of venom hits the floor where he was standing just a second ago. The fight has just become much more complicated. Why the hell did I think this was one-on-one? Akira thinks, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Between the lion's raw power and the snake tail's independent awareness, he isn't fighting one beast. He's fighting 2 coordinated killers in a single body. He tries to reposition, attempting to get behind the beast, but the snake tail watches his every move. It's a realization that sends a chill down his spine. This monster has no blind spots. Every angle he tries is already being guarded. Sweat pours down Akira's face as he realizes the gravity of the situation. This isn't just a tough fight. It's a death trap designed to eliminate anything that moves. No, this is much worse than that. He mutters, his mind racing for a solution. The chimera doesn't give him time to think. With a massive bwup, it pounces through the air, its giant paws ready to crush him into the stone. Akira leaps back, but the beast's speed is overwhelming, leaving him with almost no room to breathe. Bakrok, the impact is devastating. The chimera slams into him with enough force to shatter bone. Akira is caught in a whirlwind of fur, claws, and raw aggression, the sound of the beast's power drowning out everything else. He's pinned to the ground, a giant paw crushing his chest as he lets out a strangled ugh. The chimera towers over him, its hateful eyes promising only a slow, painful end. This is the moment every adventurer fears. The beast throws him like a rag doll, sending him flying into the wall with a sickening whunch. The impact leaves Akira dazed, his vision swimming as he struggles to stay conscious against the overwhelming pain. He slumps to the floor, coughing up blood. Damn, think I broke some ribs. He groans, clutching his side. Across the arena, the chimera begins its slow, triumphant march toward him, savoring the final moments of the hunt. This is the end of the road, or is it? Akira looks up, a new, dark light in his eyes. He's done holding back. Sorry, but I've got no choice. I'll start fighting for real now. He reaches for a power he's been warned never to use lightly, a darkness that has been waiting for this exact moment. Shadow magic. The air screams as a torrential surge of black energy erupts from Akira. It's a raw, primal force that twists and coils like a living thing, far exceeding anything a normal mage could produce. The arena is swallowed by shadows, but the power comes at a price. This is bad, blacking out. Akira gasps, his vision turning to static. Through the haze, he hears a voice calling his name. Is it a hallucination, or is someone truly reaching out to him from across the void? It's Saran. His mentor's voice echoes clear as day in Akira's mind, repeating a warning from the past. He knew Akira's shadow magic wasn't normal, that it possessed a dangerous will of its own. It's a powerful weapon, but one with deadly drawbacks that could consume the user if they aren't careful. The warning comes just in time. The magic explodes from Akira's hands, black thorns of shadow shredding the chimera from the inside out. In a flurry of gore and dark energy, the beast is torn apart. Saran's voice lingers one last time. Above all else, be careful. The silence returns, but it's different now. The room reeks of blood, a chokingly sweet smell that hangs heavy in the air. Akira stands amidst the wreckage, his body trembling as the adrenaline begins to fade and the true cost of the magic sets in. He collapses to his knees, a bitter, ironic smile on his face. Well done. As you'd expect, to do a boss fight. It's too hard. He's alive, but the victory feels hollow, bought with a power he barely understands and cannot control. Without skills, go figure. He lets out a weak laugh before slumping over completely. His body has reached its limit, and the darkness he unleashed is already starting to take its toll. He is a king in a room of corpses, and he's never been more alone. Suddenly, a series of system messages flicker into existence. Master is severely injured. Harm exceeds tolerable parameters. The magic he just used is reacting to his state, overriding his own will to ensure his survival. Forcibly activating shadow magic. Mode, recovery. Since Akira's magic power is spent, the system reaches into the reservoir of shadows he just unleashed. A dark cocoon of power begins to swirl around his broken body, rebuilding him from the inside out. The assassin survived the floor, but at what cost to his humanity? Only the shadows know for sure. In the beginning, there was only Eider, the god of creation. With his divine power, he first shaped the air and then formed the land, laying the foundation for the world of Morgan. Next, Eider created people in his own image, the humans, elves, beastmen, and demon folk. He bestowed upon them everything they needed to thrive, a land to inhabit, labor to pursue, and the power of statuses. In doing so, he hoped to heal his own heart, which had grown weary from the conflicts among the gods. However, peace was short-lived, because the demon folk possessed the terrifying ability to control monsters. They were shunned by the other three races and eventually driven out to the harsh volcano continent. This betrayal enraged Eider, who responded by creating even more monsters and dividing the world into four distinct parts. The era of strife continued as the elves retreated to the forest continent, home to the holy tree. Meanwhile, the humans and beastmen remained locked in a bitter struggle for dominance. In the end, the humans emerged victorious, claiming Cantonin, the largest and most bountiful continent. The defeated beastmen were forced to withdraw to the land of Brute, a wild territory ruled by dangerous animals. Though the wars have largely subsided, the hatred remains. Even now, the four races live in separation, and the demon folk are still viewed as the common enemy of all. Conflict with demonkind continued without end. Akira remembers these words clearly. Akira oda Jurksuvik. He recalls that conversation with Saran Matrai, Knight Commander, on the very day they met. Was it just a dream? He finds himself lying on the cold dungeon floor, the memory of his recent life and death struggle still vivid. He quickly checks his body. To his surprise, he isn't hurt at all. However, his stomach lets out a loud growl. First things first, he needs to find something to eat before his strength fails him. Akira looks over at the chimera he just defeated. The meat doesn't look spoiled, and there are no signs of maggots. In this desperate situation, monster meat might be his only chance at a meal. Maybe if I cook it, it'll still be edible, he wonders. In the world of Morrigan, even those without specialized magic skills can use basic arcane tricks for survival. Akira uses a magic stone to start a small fire, preparing to roast the chimera meat. It's a primitive but necessary step for a survivor. He takes a bold bite. Wow, delish! The taste is far better than he expected, satisfying his hunger and giving him a much-needed boost of morale in the dark abyss. After finishing his meal, Akira offers a silent word of thanks to the fallen beast. But as he sits by the fading fire, a troubling question lingers. How did the fatal wounds he received from the chimera heal so perfectly? He pulls up his status window, searching for answers. He doesn't see any revival-related skills. It's hard to imagine someone just happened to pass through a locked boss chamber deep in a dungeon to heal him. Then he notices something new. His eyes widen as he spots a new extra skill on his list. Luck. It's an unusual addition, and he can't help but wonder if this is what saved him from certain death. Luck, Akidasai. He couldn't help but think that if he'd had this skill a few days ago, things might have turned out differently. Maybe he could have prevented the tragedy that befell his only ally. He thinks of the murder of Saran Matrai, Knight Commander. If he had been luckier, perhaps he could have uncovered the plot and saved him. But he quickly shakes off the thought. It's just wishful thinking now. He has to focus on moving forward. Suddenly, a sharp ping echoes in his mind. Something is falling from above. Akira's instincts flare as a translucent, gelatinous mass drops toward him. A slime. He narrowly evades the surprise attack. His skills detect presence and detect danger fire off simultaneously. There's no mistake. He can sense a person's presence nearby, but the immediate threat is the creature in front of him. Akira draws his blade with clinical precision. He doesn't know where the other person is yet, but he knows they can't be far. First, he has to deal with this slime. He won't let his guard down for a second. Shut your damn mouth. Akira roars, his blade whistling through the air. With a single, powerful slash, he cleaves through the monster, ending its screeching in an instant. The slime stands no chance against his own lethality. As the slime begins to dissolve, Akira looks on with a mix of confusion and pity. The creature was surprisingly weak, but as the gelatinous body melts away, it reveals something hidden within. Through the dissolving residue, a slender hand and legs clothed in dark fabric appear. The slime wasn't just a monster, it was holding someone captive. Akira watches intently as the figure is finally freed. Lying there is a young woman with long, radiant white hair and pointed ears, a high elf. Her eyes are closed, her expression peaceful yet pale. This is Amelia Rose Quartz, appearing for the first time in his journey. She is stunningly beautiful, adorned with black roses in her hair. After draping his cloak over the girl to ward off the dungeon's chill, Akira Oda starts a small fire. He sits back, the quiet solitude of his survival now shared with an unexpected companion. Though he intended to travel this dark path alone, the gentle crackle of the flames brings a strange new sense of responsibility. I've wound up with some extra baggage. How stupid of me, he mutters to himself. Deep in this dangerous maze, he knows he shouldn't linger, yet he can't bring himself to abandon her. He settles in, his gaze lingering on the mysterious girl as he tries to make sense of her presence in such a desolate place. Akira Oda sits silently by the fire, his gaze fixed on the unconscious girl. He takes in her delicate features and long, pointed ears. She must be one of the elves the commander told me about. He muses, recognizing her race from the stories he heard back at the castle. He recalls the lore of this world. Elves love nature and their holy tree above all else. They rarely ever venture away from their home territory on the forest continent, loathing the way humans recklessly destroy nature. This makes her presence here, in the depths of a dark dungeon, even more of a mystery. So what's she doing in a place like this? With nothing but time and the crackling of the fire for company, Akira settles in. Guess I'll wait until she wakes up, he decides, showing a level of patience born from his experience as an assassin. He stares into the distance, his mind wandering. Ever since he arrived in this world, his life has been a whirlwind of learning, training, and exhausting, dizzying events. From being hailed as a hero to being framed as a murderer, he hasn't had a single moment of peace. Now, sitting in a dungeon, the silence is almost unsettling. Yup, this here's a whole new dilemma, Akira thinks with a sweat drop. For the first time, he has absolutely nothing to do but wait. This unexpected free time feels strange to someone who has been constantly fighting for his life. Yikes! Free time. To pass the time, he pulls up his status window again. He looks at an extra skill he'd ignored until now. World Eyes. He tried it once before, but couldn't make sense of it. Should I see if I can use it now? He wonders, his curiosity piqued by the quiet surroundings. He concentrates, and suddenly his vision shifts. A surge of power flows into his right eye as the skill activates with a faint hum. The world begins to change before him, but it's not what he expected. A flood of raw data slams into his mind. Status windows for every stone, wall, and object in the room overlap and flicker frantically. Oh crap, my head's splitting apart. The information overload is excruciating, feeling as if his brain is being torn into 1,000 pieces. Disengage skill, he mentally screams. The world snaps back to normal with a thwoomph, and Akira collapses to one knee, huffing and puffing. He clutches his head, his vision swimming. Huff! Huff! That was dangerous. He realizes that both shadow magic and world eyes are far more taxing than he anticipated. They aren't tools he can just use on a whim. HM. He takes a closer look at the skill description in his window. The description for World Eyes, Level 1 reveals its true nature, able to see everything about this world. Active field of view can be adjusted. The key is the adjustment. He had it set to everything at once, which caused the overload. He contemplates how to refine his control. I see. If I carefully adjust it like so, Akira tries again, focusing his concentration to narrow the field of view. As he does, a soft mef comes from the girl lying nearby. She twitches, her fingers clutching the ground. She's starting to wake up. Amelia Rose Quartz slowly opens her eyes. She groans, her hand going to her head. Ugh, where am I? She looks around, confused and disoriented, her large red eyes meeting Akira's for the first time. The transition from the darkness of the slime to the firelight is jarring. Meanwhile, far away in the castle of the Retai's kingdom, a door stands ajar. Inside a secluded room, something is about to change. The peace of the royal residence is a sharp contrast to the damp dungeon where Akira is currently hiding. Inside the room, a young man stands before a shelf of strange, glowing crystals. He draws his blade with a swift swish. This is Asahina Kyusuk, a samurai from Akira's world. He seems to be acting on a strange, irresistible impulse, eyeing the crystals with a focused intensity. With a sharp shink, Asahina Kyusuk swings his katana. Shattering sounds fill the room as the crystals are smashed into 1,000 shards. He moves with practiced grace, a whirlwind of steel against the glowing stones. Each strike seems to clear his mind further. He stands amidst the wreckage, breathing heavily. He looks down at his hands, appearing confused by his own actions. He had just destroyed what were likely the sources of the mind control crystals used by the kingdom to manipulate the students. Asahina's intuition had led him to do exactly what was needed. This is Asahina Kyusuk, belonging to the samurai class. He's a man of few words and high intuition, now standing alone in a room of broken secrets. Where am I? He wonders, the fog of the kingdom's influence finally beginning to lift from his mind. Back in the dungeon, Akira approaches the elf girl. So you're awake. Hey, are you hurt anywhere? He asks with a neutral tone. Amelia Rose Quartz looks up at him, still a bit dazed. I'm Yufine. She stammers, but then a loud, rumbling gurgle breaks the silence. She's clearly starving. Akira reaches into his bag and pulls out a piece of the roasted chimera meat. Here, he says, handing it to her. Another loud growl comes from her stomach, and she blushes furiously, her face turning bright red as she tries to hide her embarrassment. Gurgle! Her stomach protests again. Amelia Rose Quartz snatches the meat from his hand with a quick snatch. She begins to eat ravenously, stuffing her face without a second thought. Akira watches her, slightly taken aback by her intensity. Nomph nomph, she gobbles down the food. She's like a stray kitten, he thinks to himself. After she finishes the first piece, Akira offers her more. I've got this too. She looks up at him, her eyes wide and grateful. Thank you, she whispers softly, the initial fear and suspicion starting to fade. She sits down politely, the meal providing some much-needed comfort. SHFF, she settles onto the floor. Akira waits for her to finish before asking the pressing question. Why were you inside that slime? What happened to you? His voice is calm, but his eyes are searching. He needs to know if she's a threat or just another victim of this dungeon. Amelia Rose Quartz looks away, her expression turning somber. Amelia hangs her head, her voice trembling slightly. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. Recognizing the weight of her trauma, Akira doesn't push for answers. I see, he says softly, letting her find comfort in the meal while he watches over her in the quiet dungeon darkness. In the stillness, Akira suddenly realizes he still has world eyes activated. As he looks at her, a status window flickers into view, revealing her true identity. Amelia Rose Quartz, level 51. He's stunned by the staggering level gap. Realizing this girl is far more powerful than she looks. He stares, as the skill starts displaying a list of abilities that defy common sense. Akira Oda continues to study the status window of the girl he rescued. Amelia Rose Quartz. Race, High Elf. Level 51. He's stunned by her strength, noting that she has skills like Elven Grace and Evasion Magic. But what really catches his attention is her magic stat. It's listed as undeterminable. That feels even cheatier than the boost my class got, he thinks, realizing he's sitting next to someone incredibly powerful. As he scrolls through her skills, he freezes. And what's more, she has world eyes too. He had thought extra skills were unique to him, but seeing it on her makes him question everything. So, are extra skills not that rare? He wonders, his suspicion growing. Amelia, now fully awake and munching on meat, looks at him curiously. Why are you here, Akira? She asks. Akira is taken aback that she already knows his name. Hey, at least ask for my name out loud, he retorts. He realizes she might have been using her own world eyes to look at his status, just like he did to hers. So maybe she's seen my status just like I saw hers. He looks at her properly, white hair and ruby-red eyes. It's a striking combination, but it contradicts the stories he heard at the castle. But I'd heard that all elves have blonde hair and blue eyes. Akida Mumba. Amelia doesn't respond, just continues to eat in the dim light of the dungeon. Amelia. He repeats her name, testing how it feels to have a companion. The fire crackles between them as Akira asks the obvious question. Do you want to go back to the elf continent? Amelia's response is immediate and cold. No, not a chance. She looks him in the eye, her gaze unwavering. I intend to stay with you, Akira. Akira is stunned. With me? He asks, not expecting to become responsible for a high-level elf. Akira tries to process the proposal. Well, I do intend to leave this place eventually. But there's a lot of levels for me to clear before that happens, and Amelia cuts him off, her voice soft but heavy with meaning. You don't have a place. Akira is confused by her bluntness. Huh. Her gaze pierces through him. A place where you belong. There isn't one for you in the human castle. Her words hit home, echoing the betrayal he felt when he was framed. Amelia seems to see right into his soul, identifying the loneliness he tries so hard to hide. How do you know that? Akira asks, his voice barely a whisper. Amelia leans in slightly. I know because I know. After all, you and I have the same eyes, Akira. She looks at him with a mix of pity and recognition. I expect you know as well as I do. She's referring to the truth revealed by their world eyes. Akira tries to deflect. If you're talking about world eyes, my level isn't high enough to use it to its full extent. He isn't ready to admit what he saw. Amelia isn't fooled. You're just denying the naked truth, Akira, she says, her voice devoid of judgment. She knows he's hiding behind his level to avoid the reality of their situation. Never mind level. The conversation reaches a stalemate. Fine. Good night, Akira says, decided to end the discussion for now. He wraps himself in his gear and lies down by the fire. Amelia follows suit, curling up on the cold floor. Well, I'm going to bed for the night, he mutters. Good night, I guess, she replies softly, the silence of the dungeon returning. Sleep doesn't come easily to Akira. He lies there, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. Maybe I should expand the radius of detect danger as far as I can, he thinks, his instincts as a survivor never truly turning off. In the background, the fire continues to crackle, the only sound in the oppressive darkness. You know, he thinks, his mind returning to Amelia's words. Her words haunt him, a place where you belong. There isn't one for you in the human castle. He looks over at the girl sleeping on the cold floor and feels a strange kinship. Those words I said before, this cold floor. He realizes that they are both outcasts now, with nowhere to return. Amelia's dreams are just as troubled. She clenches her hands in her sleep, her eyes fluttering. Who am I to talk? Why are you still alive? The memories of her own rejection surface, the cruel words from those she once called family. I have nowhere to go back to either, she thinks, her heart heavy even in sleep. She feels a sudden warmth, a gentle breeze that wasn't there before. A warm breeze. Is it Akira's subsistence magic? She peeks from under her blanket at the boy leaning against the wall. He cast it out far and wide, far enough to cover me, as well as him. Despite his blunt words and the scary look in his eye, he's taking care of her. But actually, it could be he's a kind person, Amelia muses. She watches him through half-closed eyes, seeing the quiet determination in his profile. For someone who has been rejected by everyone, Akira's silent protection means the world to her. She feels a flicker of hope for the first time in a long time. She thinks back to her time in the elf village. No one ever treated me this thoughtfully. In fact, everyone rejected me, even my sister. The pain of that memory is still sharp, making her appreciate Akira's simple kindness even more. He is the first person to treat her like a human being rather than a monster or a burden. Akira is a curious person. My eyes tell me that he wasn't born in this world. She looks at the small fire crackling between them and wonders about his origins. I wonder what kind of place Akira's world is. To her, he is a mystery from a land far beyond her imagination. Yet he is her only anchor in this dark abyss. The scene shifts back to the human castle, bathed in the early morning sun. The air is thick with tension as the students gather. Something big is about to happen, and the fragile peace of the kingdom is about to be shattered. A new chapter of their journey is beginning. Tsukasa Hodaka, the hero, has gathered the remaining students. His expression is grim and determined. Sada Tsukasa, the arrogant student from their class, looks at him with skepticism. Well, spit it out, hero. Just what did you call us all together for all of a sudden? The air is tense with unspoken rivalry. Tsukasa Hodaka doesn't hesitate. That's exactly it. And we're setting out today. As soon as possible. Sada Tsukasa can't believe his ears. Don't tell me you already want to head out and take down the Demon King? A murmur of disbelief spreads through the group of students. They aren't ready for a real battle. The whispers grow louder. Is he kidding? Out of the blue like that. This is crazy, isn't it? It's still chaos out there. Some are even more critical. Did he forget that Akira murdered Commander Saran? The lies spread by the king are still deeply embedded in their minds. Tsukasa Hodaka listens to them, his jaw tight. They say whatever they please. He thinks. Sadu Tsukasa steps forward, mocking the hero. And they call you a hero? Shame on you. What's really going on here is that you're trying to run away from trouble. Tsukasa Hodaka realizes that the curse mentioned before is shaking everyone's bonds from within. He knows it's not their fault, but the constant bickering is a pain. I know it's not his fault, but it's still a pain. He muses. Tsukasa Hodaka has reached his limit. If that's what you think, then you people don't need to come, he declares, his voice cold and final. He realizes the royals will do whatever it takes to force his obedience. In which case, I'll leave the castle by myself. Suddenly, a calm voice breaks the silence. I'll come with you. It's Asahina Kusuk. Asahina Kusuk, the stoic samurai, is the first to bridge the gap, standing firmly by Tsukasa Hodaka's side. His quiet strength acts as a catalyst. Soon, voices ripple through the room. I'll come too, Ueno Yuki declares, followed quickly by several others. One by one, they choose to defy the kingdom's pressure, and the tide finally begins to turn. The momentum builds as more students step forward to join the split. Waki Daisuke, the animal trainer, Suda Tomoya the knight, and Nanes Rintaru the wind mage all pledge their support. This small, determined band is finally choosing their own path over the king's manipulative lies, standing ready to leave the false safety of the palace behind for the sake of the truth. Tsukasa Hodaka looks at the small but determined group standing before him. He nods, feeling a surge of gratitude. Despite the uncertainty, he isn't alone anymore. He sees the same resolve in the eyes of Asahina Kusuk and the others. It's time to stop talking and start moving. With a final, heavy thud, the large castle doors swing shut behind them. The group steps out of the grand hall, leaving the false safety of the royal court behind. Their journey into the unknown has officially begun. B.A. Tam, the echoes of the closing doors signal their point of no return. Clop, clop. The sound of their boots on the stone floor is the only thing breaking the silence. Tsukasa Hodaka is focused, his mind already on the road ahead. We'll leave as soon as our preparations are complete, he says. One of the students wonders if the king will try to stop them. It was the king who ordered the subjugation of the Demon King in the first place. Tsukasa replies firmly. Even if he opposes us, we'll ignore him. Let's hurry up and leave the castle before anyone gets in our way. Tsukasa urges the group. He tells everyone to get their gear and reassemble as quickly as possible. The urgency in his voice is contagious, and the students scatter to prepare. They know every second counts if they want to escape without a confrontation. Got it, they shout in unison. As the sun rises over the horizon, casting long shadows across the castle grounds, the small group of heroes walks away from the towering spires of the Retais kingdom. From a distance, they look like a tiny band against the massive fortress, but their determination is larger than any wall. They are finally free from the king's direct observation. We left the castle more easily than I expected, Tsukasa Hodaka notes, breathing a sigh of relief. Thank God for that. He turns to the others, his expression softening. Hey, everyone, why are you coming along with me? He specifically looks at Ueno Yuki. I get why you're here, Ueno-san, but I'm not to say I'm suspicious of you, since you've come this far. The students look at each other, feeling a sense of clarity they haven't had in weeks. Actually, as far as I can tell, not a single person here is under a curse anymore, one of them says. Tsukasa Hodaka is stunned. Huh, the curse has been lifted. They all agree that they feel completely different than they did just yesterday. The fog in their minds has vanished. Asahina Kyusuk steps forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his new sword. I don't have proof, but it probably has something to do with what I did, he says calmly. Tsukasa Hodaka turns to him, intrigued. What do you mean, Asahina-kun? Asahina stares into the distance. It was this morning. Asahina Kyusuk begins to explain. When I came to my senses, I wasn't in my own chamber, but some other room I didn't recognize. He remembers seeing several strange crystals in the room, and on an instinct he can't fully explain, he drew his blade and shattered 6 of them. The memory is faint, but I remember that I was the one who broke them. His subconscious had led him to destroy the source of their mind control. I must have picked up this sword at some point or another. Asahina continues, looking at the elegant katana in his hand. It's a beautiful weapon, seemingly waiting for him in that secret room. Its presence is as mysterious as the room itself, but it feels right in his hand. I felt like it would be bad for anyone to find me there, so I hightailed it out of there as fast as I could. Asahina admits. Tsukasa Hodaka is deep in thought. If 6 were broken, then that equals the number of people here other than me. It's too perfect to be a coincidence. Each crystal must have represented one of the students now following him. He mumbles, pieces of the puzzle falling into place. The group gathers around Asahina's new weapon. But it's weird that your body acted on its own. What if that sword is cursed too? Someone asks nervously. Ueno Yuki takes the blade for a moment, examining it with her keen eyes. HMN. No, it's not cursed, she concludes, her intuition as a magic user giving her confidence. Let me see a minute. Ueno Yuki hands the sword back to Asahina. First time I've ever seen such a pure white blade. It's a splendid sword. Asahina nods, thanks. He reveals what he's discovered about the weapon. I looked into this sword a little bit myself. Apparently, its name is Hakuryu, White Dragon. The name carries a weight of power that seems fitting for a samurai like Asahina Kyusuk. Despite the many questions that remain, Tsukasa Hodaka knows they can't linger. Why was the curse only lifted on you 6 in particular? He wonders out loud. There are so many unknowns. But he shakes his head, hardening his resolve. But this isn't the time to be standing around wondering. He knows their priority is to find Akira and learn the truth about what happened at the castle. With the sun high in the sky and the castle walls receding behind them, Tsukasa Hodaka takes one last look back before focusing on the open road ahead. Let's go, he says firmly. The small group begins their long trek, leaving the comforts and the conspiracies of the kingdom behind. A new chapter of their lives has truly begun. Meanwhile, atop the castle walls, an imperial guard kneels before Gillis, vice commander. As far as I can see from the movements of the imperial guard, the king is still unaware of the departure of the hero and the others. Gillis listens intently, his expression unreadable behind his glasses. Understood, he replies calmly. The secret escape was a success. Gillis, vice commander, looks out over the landscape, watching the tiny figures of Tsukasa and the others disappear into the distance. Tsukasa, this is as far as I can help you. He reveals that his silent assistance was not a whim. These were the orders left to me by the late Commander Saran. He is carrying out his former commander's final wish to protect the students from the king's manipulation. I wish you luck. Heroes from another world. Gillis murmurs, a rare moment of softness in his eyes. He stands as a silent sentinel on the wall, a link to the man who gave his life to protect the truth. The journey ahead for Tsukasa and Akira will be fraught with danger, but they now have a chance to write their own destinies, far from the influence of the throne.